Hello everyone, my name is Russell Forsyth. I'm coming to you from Crystal Light and Sound, an e-com store that delivers crystal products right to your doorstep. I'm also the creator and the developer of the IEL Institute for the Spiritual Arts, a membership platform and training program for those interested in the metaphysical. Today I want to talk to you about Vogel cut crystals and how do you select your Vogel crystal wand. And this is a great question, and it's an important one because what you may be doing is looking for your next new best friend. Crystals are our friends. We love them, but guess what? They love us too. So it's important that we select the right one and give them a good home. In order to do that, the first thing you need to know is, what is a Vogel cut crystal wand? It's a really good question, and one that we get here at Crystal Light and Sound all the time. So let me help you with that. Okay, let's jump right in. What is a Vogel cut crystal? Well, the first thing you need to know is a Vogel cut crystal is named after Dr. Marcel Vogel, who was a senior scientist for IBM. When he left after 27 years working for IBM, he had over 100 patents to his name, and most of them were used in the development of computers and still used today. So when you use a computer, you're still touching the technology in part developed by Dr. Vogel. But Dr. Vogel had a strong interest in crystals, and it was this interest that led him to be named the father of quantum physics. And he developed a cutting technology to use crystals, mostly for a goal of using crystals for healing. Some would describe a Vogel cut crystal as a natural quartz crystal that's cut with the appropriate care necessary to assure the universal life force energy is attracted, amplified, and transmitted properly. Essentially, the literature tells us that a properly cut crystal takes in energy at the receptive end and amplifies it as it circulates around the inside of the crystal walls, hitting the internal sides of the polished facets as it revolves, and then is transmitted from the focal end. So the first part of this criteria is the crystal must be hand cut with the necessary intent, skill, and understanding of the crystal and its intended uses. 2, the crystal must be doubly terminated, cut, and polished to the shape. 3, the crystal has to be cut completely aligned with the C-axis of the quartz crystal. Now what this means is it's cut along the C line of the crystal, how it was formed. It's cutting with the grain of the crystal, a lot like a carpenter would cut along the grain of the wood. 4, raw crystals must be cut to 456 hertz to attune to water. Crystals are one of the few elements on the earth that can attune to water at the same frequency, and that's why they make great tools for working on the human body. 5, the receptive end, sometimes called the female end of the crystal, must be faceted, forming an internal angle of 51 degrees, 51 minutes, and 51 seconds. This is the same angle as the sides of the Great Pyramid of Giza. 6, the crystal must have 4 or more side facets. Each facet is comparable to a car engine. 8 sides would be compared to an 8-cylinder engine and would have the strength needed to take someone out of their body. 7, the transmitter end, sometimes referred to as the male end of the crystal, must be faceted with a more acute internal angle than the receptive end. And for some, this means 60 degrees. So 51.84 degrees on the female end and 60 degrees on the male end. Number 8, the only crystals considered a true Vogel cut crystal would be a 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, and 24-sided or faceted crystal wand. Most crystals cut with 24 sides and up are machine cut due to the extreme difficulty of cutting that many facets onto a crystal. Crystal cutters trained in the art of making these exacting hand cuts are a vanishing breed. Cutters that Marcel trained have made their mark in the world by taking his cutting technology to the next level. The Vogel cutters have used those skills to develop unique designs of their own, like the Angel Cut, the Vision Quest, Unconditional Love, and others that would be considered Vogel-inspired or Vogel style. Okay, now that you know a little bit about what is a Vogel cut crystal, it's time to search for your new best friend. Unfortunately, the use of terms like Vogel and Lemurian have been overused to become a marketing keyword. I've seen this firsthand in some rock shops, this type of labeling on crystals that is the farthest from the truth. Some might argue to the point that there is no such thing as a Vogel cut wand, since Marcel Vogel died in 1991. In 2010, the owner of the Vogel Cut registered trademark gave Crystal Light and Sound exclusive rights to deem a crystal wand as Vogel Cut. We hold this as a sacred agreement that should always be honored. So we have to know for sure in any way that we can that it is a Vogel Cut crystal before we can label it that and market it as such. Most shopping for a Vogel wand is done online, and so they are not readily available to handle in person by the general public. This means you are dependent on making a selection from a distance. The good news is the crystal will communicate from any distance. In order to get in touch with the crystal, you must get out of your head and into your heart. If you're focused on angles, clarity, size, you might not hear the voice of these amazing earth keepers. The art of listening is a lost art that should be revived when selecting a crystal wand. With the crystal market exploding, there are many unscrupulous crystal dealers in the world. We decided to test the market ourselves by ordering Vogel crystal wands off an Etsy store site. One of the first things we learned was that the image posted as the product was not the actual product. Our package arrived with $1,500 worth of crystals. It was really disheartening to see such junk being passed off as Vogel crystals. The polish was the first giveaway. The next was the poor cutting. In these images, you can see the scratches on the crystal, especially when running light through the wand. It's good to develop an eye for detail when searching for your wand. The one you see in this image has uneven cutting at the termination points. One key to a poor cut is the facets are not the same size, nor do they line up. Another key is the price. Acquiring the right material, hand cutting, and expert polishing takes a lot of skill and time. Cheap wands are the first red flag with a Vogel fake. A Vogel cut crystal can be very costly, but it's an investment you will never ever regret. They will also grow in value over time. The cutters set the price, so if you want a true Vogel, don't let a low price determine your selection. Sometimes your search is limited to red flags, so it's good to be aware of those warnings. Lab-grown or raw material? This is a very common question. I've done my own testing since I've led workshops. I've had people close their eyes and I've given them a lab-grown crystal and asked them what they thought. And some very skilled, intuitive people felt the lab-grown crystals ran the purest and cleanest energy. They had unobstructed channels inside the lab-grown crystals. Others might argue that a synthetic crystal doesn't hold the energy of the earth and nature. Many get good results with lab-grown crystals, so it comes down a bit to preference. People will choose a lab-grown crystal for its optical clarity. The flawless optical, natural-grade crystal material is becoming increasingly difficult to find in a Vogel cut wand. This is why flawless wands will cost more if they are raw crystals or cut out of raw crystals. Does size matter? Well, the answer is yes and no. I personally have seen amazing healing energy delivered from a tiny, tiny Vogel wand. But in quantum mechanics, the three-dimensional position of electrons creates the field where a wavelength is formed. An electron's energy is quantized, which means that it can only have a particular energy value. The size of the crystal determines the wave-like characteristics. If you've ever been around a large crystal, you can feel the energy field that is proportionate to the size. That said, you can have an astounding experience with a small crystal wand, without a doubt. Should you be very concerned with the size? Not really. Your budget combined with being drawn to a crystal is what should determine the outcome of your purchase. Here's some final thoughts. The greatest feature that will determine the energy flow of a crystal is not the size, the number of facets, or even the clarity. It is the level which you have developed the self-awareness that increases levels of pure consciousness. You are partnering with an earth element to form a collaboration that leads to energy movement. It's up to you to reach higher levels of pure energy directed through the crystal element. That's why it's important to listen and choose that partner from your heart, first and foremost. At Crystal Light and Sound, we have developed a tool for checking alignment between the wand and the purchaser. We strive to make the best match possible when connecting you with your best friend. We do not sell a crystal if there is a hint of a mismatch, and that's something you don't usually find in retail. We want it to be good for you and good for the crystal because that crystal knows where its home is and you're trying to bring it there. So we work with you to make that happen as best we can. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck searching for your Vogel cut crystal wand and your new best friend for life. And until we meet again, happy trails.